Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation today. Folks, let's first talk about the woes of the GOP as it relates to Kevin McCarthy. They're in the middle of trying to make another round of votes to see if the California Republican will be leading the GOP, leading the party. And guess what? Doesn't look like it will happen again. We'll talk about the implications. Also, can we talk about President Biden's new immigration policy? He gave some remarks and broke down what this new policy will look like. And some say it's not enough, while others say this is just the right measure. We're going to be checking in with Professor Jason Nichols to get his take on this as well. And then later, I'm going to talk to my man Scotty once again because more developments are coming out around the Damar Hamlin case, as we're seeing the NFL player getting much better, improving. But the question becomes, what will it happen looking forward? And more importantly, let's talk about protecting the players on and off the field. We'll have that conversation and a whole lot more. So stay with us. We got a lot to get you on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to get to, so I don't want to waste any time as we got some of these big items on the agenda today. First and foremost, let's talk about the woes of Kevin McCarthy and the GOP, how the California Republican is looking to become the next leader of the party, but it doesn't look like that. It doesn't look like that after a number of rounds. It looks like Kevin McCarthy will still not be the leader, the House leader. Let me go check in with my brother, Professor Jason Nichols, to give us some insight as to what we're seeing and the impact that this is going to make on the Congress moving forward and getting to the business of the people. Professor Jason Nichols, always a pleasure to talk to you, bro. How are you feeling this afternoon? We got you on mute, Professor. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now, brother.
Yeah, I'm just saying I'm feeling blessed. I'm happy to be here with you, my brother.
Good. I appreciate that. All right, Professor, let's talk. Kevin McCarthy. You know, it feels like one of those relationships where a person just keeps asking, right? And then the other person is like, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. First and foremost, let's talk about it from the political side of things, right? Not even just dealing with the emotional side, because this is crazy. But from the political side, how many rounds does this process go through before another decision is made? You know, we're looking at the seventh. This is the seventh round of votes.
I think we're at 8 now.
The 8th round, and we're streaming it right now here on Black Star Network as we speak. So folks might be, switching between the two shows. But this is 8. Like we're seeing this, and I'm wondering, like, how many rounds does this go to?
I think this is one of the things about like the Trump years into the beginning of the Biden years is that I think it is exposed some of the cracks in our process and in our institutions and in our elections. So I think this is another crack. I don't know that there's any limit. It's not like once you reach 15, it's over, because throughout history, it's pretty much been one vote. Like as soon as it comes along, the person wins on the first vote. If not the first, going back to 1855, it certainly didn't take 8. So I don't know that there's an end. It's basically a game of chicken. Who's going to blink first? And it looks like Kevin McCarthy is probably going to have to tap out at some point. I mean, I believed he was going to. I said it as late as last night on the Black Star Network that I believed that Kevin McCarthy was gonna make it. But I'm not so sure anymore. I think he's gonna have to tap out at some point. He does not have the votes and Byron Donald may be the next Speaker of the House.
Yeah. And you know what? You might be right. And what you're looking at, folks, is the live stream right now. Like I said, we're streaming this live on our blackstarnetwork.com. You can check it out. This is actually the start of the 9th round of votes. The 9th round of votes to see it. Like I don't know, Professor, I don't know if I could go through 9 rounds of rejection.
Yeah, I mean, boxing matches where you lose 9 rounds or 8 rounds in a row.
Wait a minute. At least in boxing, there's some chances. You can score some points somewhere. But I'm talking about consistent defeat in every round.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to have to tap out at some point. He just does not have the votes. When you listen to people like Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert, they are pretty convinced. And when Trump came through and said, hey, let's end this, let's vote for McCarthy, and people who were stalwart Trump supporters like Lauren Boebert said no, I think there's a couple things we can take from that. Number one, we can take from it that Trump is diminished. He is much weaker. And I think there are a couple of things we can attribute that to. Number one, he's not on Twitter, so he doesn't have the Twitter bully pulpit that he once had. He's on Truth Social, and nobody's on that. So I think there's that. And he's just, after all these consecutive losses, these people don't fear him anymore. He ruled like the mob. He ruled with fear that he would send his internet mob after you. And now people like Lauren Boebert are like, yeah, I like you, but no, I'm not going to follow your lead. So I think that spells disaster for Kevin McCarthy. He's really, he really doesn't have an option other than to tap out, and then they have to find a new speaker. But, everything is being held up by this. I know we Democrats and we on the left, we're sitting here laughing about it. But at some point, the business of the people has to get done. Like, congressmen need to get seated. Like, and this isn't happening while this process is going on. So at some point, I think Kevin McCarthy, if he has any kind of decency, he's just going to have to tap out. Either way, we've seen that the GOP is divided, and we see that little sliver, that 10% on the far right, they wield a whole lot of power, and they are going to hold things up, and they'd be willing to burn the whole thing down than acquiesce to the establishment GOP. And I think it's a bad thing for their whole party. I think their party may split. There may be a third party at some point.
Now, see, that was the direction I was going to go with my next question, Professor. Because we're seeing this stalemate taking place, do you foresee that this is going to just add to the fracture of the party? Because, like you mentioned, I mean, all of Americans try to figure out, like, dude, pick somebody and let's move on with the business. But at this point, this highlights the huge problem that the GOP has. And I didn't even know that, especially here on, like on different platforms, Black folks, there are some of us who believe that the GOP is a very disciplined, highly structured, consistent message type of group of people. And I'm often say, that's not the case. The Republican Party don't have it together.
Yeah. Like
we can't, because, and I know you heard it, brother. People say, well, the Democrats don't move like the Republicans. The Republicans got it. And it's like, actually, they're both in bad shape if given the right circumstances. And this is one of them right circumstances. Trump, and then what happened after Trump. Like, January 6th was a circumstance that opened up the door to show, like, the Republican Party is in bad shape. The Republican Party is not disciplined. They're not on message. You know what I'm saying? The crazy part is that you can see the BS of the Republican Party very, very early on. So to speak to that for me, brother, like, what, people's perception of how this party is going to move. And because we're seeing the skeletons in the closet, how will that impact the people's view of the party's ability to lead?
Well, I think one of the things is, at one point they were a very disciplined party, and they had their messages. Their messages, in my opinion, were deplorable. It was, anti-gay, anti-women's choice, anti-Black, but they stayed on message. And they couched it in this whole idea of family values and all these kinds of things that we knew were just kind of codes. But they abandoned that with Trump. It became a cult of personality. It became all about Trump. Trump was the message. And that's what oftentimes happens when you have, fascism or authoritarian governments. Then you take the dictator out, and then the whole thing goes into disarray. And that's what I think you're seeing in the Republican Party now that the dictator, or the guy who made all of the important moves and the important decisions is now diminished. They don't know where to go. And now there are people who want to stand up. Every wing of the party wants leadership. I think that, I'm not sure where they go immediately from here until they start to really get around a message. But even when you think about what they were talking about doing, or what they're talking about doing, which Kevin McCarthy is not that far off from Matt Gaetz. They're pretty much talking about the same things. Getting rid of Social Security or really weakening it, and a bunch of investigations into Hunter Biden's laptop, and a bunch of investigations into Dr. Fauci and COVID. They're pretty much on the same page. But again, there's this big divide, based on God knows what, and they're miles apart. And that's where I think the party is really going to suffer. After those midterm losses, I think it threw the party into disarray.
Absolutely.
I heard, Lauren Boebert on television earlier, and she was saying, we were supposed to, Kevin McCarthy raised $300 million, and we lost a bunch of races. And she felt that personally because she wanted a nail biter in somewhere where she won by a comfortable 6 points in 2020. So I think a lot of them are pissed off. A lot of them barely won their elections, and they blame McCarthy. And I think they're scared to quite blame Trump yet, but they feel that Trump is somewhat responsible.
Yeah.
And now the whole thing is in disarray because they made it all about Trump, which was a big mistake.
Huge mistake. Look, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's continue our conversation with Professor Jason Nichols. I want to hear from you folks as well. So throw your comments into the chat as we're streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. And make sure y'all do your due diligence by checking us out on Black Star Network. Stay with us. A lot more as we talk about the woes of the GOP, as there is another stalemate in the vote for the House Speaker. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Your money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, we have been talking about what's going on in Washington right now as the GOP, the Republican Party, is still trying to figure out who will their next House Speaker be. You said, I thought it was Kevin McCarthy. No, they have just started the 9th round of votes. And the California Republican is still there's still a block from getting him into the leadership role. Now, let me just give y'all some historical reference, and this is something that I had to that had to be brought to my attention. It wasn't until the last time we've seen something like this was back in the mid 1850s, folks. Just check this out. Mid 1850s, there were a number of votes that were made in trying to get, and I want to make sure we saying this right, the picking of Nathaniel Banks, who was of Massachusetts. This is a Republican out of Massachusetts in the 1850s. He has the all-time record of durations of a speaker vote when lawmakers took almost 2 months and 133 ballots in order to get Nathaniel Banks out of Massachusetts into the speaker's role. Take a look at that. 3 months, 2 months. What? I couldn't imagine that happening now. Could not imagine. Maybe they didn't have a lot of things on the national agenda at that time, but wow. 2 months, 133 votes later. Let me bring in Professor Jason Nichols as we continue this conversation. And of course, we're going to get some more comments from our online culture crew. 2 months, 133 votes. Lord, I don't see that. I don't see that happening now, Professor. Definitely don't see that happening. But at this point, it feels like 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, I read that that stat before, but for some reason I read it wrong. I thought that maybe there were only 133 seats, and they were talking about the votes at the time. Like he needed 133 votes. I didn't think about the fact that they went back 133 times. So that just became clear to me when you put it up there. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. I think, he's either going to have to make some serious concessions and go to Democrats, which I think he would be seen as the ultimate traitor if he did that. And they know that they have him in a vice grip, that little 20 member Freedom Caucus. They know that he can go to Democrats and he can give them some committee chairs, or he can make a deal and this can be over. He needs a couple of Democrats to vote with him. Democrats will carefully select who does that. And that'll probably be, more conservative Democrats in swing districts and things like that. And they'll vote for McCarthy and they'll get him through. But, he'd have to give them the gavel in some of these committees. Yep. So Jim Jordan doesn't get to be chair of the Judicial Committee anymore and harass Dr. Fauci. Then you get, I don't know, Jamie Raskin as the head. So there are deals he can make. But either way, he's coming out. He's between a rock and a hard place. I don't think he wants to make that deal because he will be seen as weak. He will be hated by Republicans. He will not be trusted. And it looks like these 20 members of that Freedom Caucus are not going to bend. So the only thing that I see is Kevin McCarthy's going to have to tap out at some point.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. No doubt. All right, let me go to my online culture crew, because them folks are chomping at the bit, Professor, to share what they got to say about this whole fiasco here. Cindy D. Cindy, you said their messages talking about the Republicans, the GOP, you said their messages are still anti-Black and anti-gay. I mean,
yeah.
Now, here's the thing. When I was making that point, I wasn't saying that they were disorganized to the point where we don't know what the message is. Mm-hmm. I was making a point of that how they're going about their process, right? Like the Republicans and the GOP, oftentimes they try to act like they are the moral authority of the two parties. They try to act as if, and you said this earlier, Professor, talking about, faith, God. But then you slap in the face for those of us, for any believer, to talk about faith in God, but you don't. The people in the ranks who are saying this are people that are doing this stuff that you like. It just doesn't make sense. It's not consistent. And we know this. The crazy part is, as the American people, we know what a lot of these political leaders are doing, whether it's for their job or off the job. We know what kind of life they live. We know what type of person they are. And guess what? We still vote for people like this, right? Mm-hmm. We feel like, and this is the very, very sad part about politics in this country, that we vote for them because we almost are so apathetic that we've gotten to the point that's like, well, who else is going to do it? We can't even see past the madness of one individual to see to the goodness of another individual. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, that's all we got. You mean to tell me out of 320 million people in this country that this is the best that we can produce?
Yeah. It's interesting. With Cindy D's statement, I would say that, yeah, there is an anti-Black and anti-gay message. And as a matter of fact, that anti-Black and anti-gay message, when they're on it, resonates. But Trump, for this last election cycle, pivoted to stolen election. That was all they kind of focused on. And so they got away from a message that digs deep into, the white supremacist foundations of this country, and actually resonates. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. They had these culture war, racial dog whistles like CRT, and they had the homophobic things like the whole trans thing and trans bathrooms or whatever else they were going after.
Don't say gay policy in Florida.
Right. And don't say gay. All those things actually do resonate. I hate to say that, but it's true. It resonated in Virginia. That's how you get Glenn Youngkin was, the parents and CRT and all those kinds of things. But they pivoted. Trump wanted to focus not on what they could talk about in terms of culture wars for the future, but to talk about the past election. So he went and got a bunch of people who were just going to talk about elections. Elections are stolen. Meanwhile, they're running in an election, and it was a failure. So I think overall, when you're talking about the GOP being thirsty for that kind of a message and that message floating in the GOP atmosphere, absolutely that's true. But I think it has shifted with Trump in leadership. It's just 2020 was stolen election.
Right.
And I think now GOP people are sick of that. You know what I mean?
To that point, Doc, it didn't work out too well, of course, for the midterm election. That message didn't really resonate with a lot of people across the country, right? Mm-hmm. After a while. January the 6th panel, the committee of January the 6th, you having an election during a time where the committee is hitting you with hardcore video testimony and other evidence, right? That in the court of public opinion, people are like, Trump is responsible. Mm-hmm. They laid out that thing so well, it's hard to just say, well, he didn't do that. This is from the words of the people that were behind the scenes. So I think that also played into it. I think, of course, what we saw with Roe v. Wade, that played into it. So you got all of these things that are creating this kind of like perfect storm for the GOP. People are like, wait a minute, y'all try to take us into a whole different direction that the people, that the country is not trying to go in, and it's not working in their favor. Very quickly, I want to get a couple of these other comments. My guy, Real Brooklyn, you said, look, if companies can interview people 2 to 3 times in deciding if you're going to be a good hamburger cooker in and out. Big shout out to In and Out, California, baby. I believe taking longer for people who are leading this country is not bad. I don't disagree with you. It's just that Kevin McCarthy is not a new guy.
Right.
He's been, and as a California Republican who probably ate it In and Out, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not new to this. He's not new to the process. He's not new to the political space. He's not a new guy. And he has made a huge name for himself on a national level for a variety of reasons. So it's like, I get it. I get what you're saying. But please, let's not talk about the number of candidates, whether national or statewide candidates that was able to get office. Look at the dude, George Santos. He lied about every damn thing that he did except for who his mother was. And guess what? He still got elected. So where was the hardcore vetting on that level? It wasn't there. It wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? I can see if you scrutinize the new guy every fall, but because you've been around, because you have the experience, because we know how your track record is, this is a very long time. All right, Real Brooklyn, you also said something very quickly. You said the number one foundational topic for running for office is fear. And I think that for us, I think you're right on point, bro, because I think for us, the American people, we can't keep get thrown off by fear. Trump has used it. A lot of administrations have used it. Republicans and Democrats. Excuse me. So we're at a point that as Americans, that we should just say to ourselves, you know what? Either I'm going to continue to embrace fear as my way of life in this country, or I'm going to choose differently. And I think there are a lot of people in this country, whether you're black or white, Asian or Latino, Doc, choosing something different. We're just tired of being scared. The human body, the human being can't stay scared or can't stay angry all the time.
And I think that was the beauty of 2008, to be honest, because Obama came along and said, all right, I'm not going to run on fear. I'm going to run on hope and change. And that really, was such a feel.
People are calling for that right now. We want to get back to that space.
Right. But, again, Obama was a very special politician at a very special time.
Yeah, great point.
You're not going to accomplish that even with Vice President Harris. You're not going to accomplish that with Joe Biden. They just don't have what Obama had, particularly in 2008. But we need to get away from fear. I mean, that is pretty much how a lot of news networks and they try to profit off of fear. We need to get really into let's do the work of the American people. Let's save things like Social Security. Let's save Medicare. Let's actually get all people health insurance. Let's do the work of the American people. That's what we really, really need and really want. But now it's just lies and fear that the media feeds us. And I'm not going to say I'm not, I don't think I lie, but I'm in that media orbit, but I see it, I hear it, and it's a problem.
Huge problem. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's shift gear from talking about Kevin McCarthy to talking about the state of immigration in this country. President Biden gave some remarks earlier today to outline his new immigration policy and his new plan on how to deal with border security and border control. We'll have that conversation with Professor and Dr. Jason Nichols and you. So stay with us. That discussion is up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All the momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, we're going to now let's switch gears as we have a conversation about border control, security, and patrol. And as we look at the larger picture of immigration, President Biden has given some remarks earlier this afternoon where he talked about his new plan on how to deal with the immigration crisis that continues to be like an Achilles heel for the country. I want to share with you something that was reported as we talk about the president, and then get, of course, Dr. Jason Nichols, get his take on this as well as yours, folks. But this is what came out of the New York Times earlier today when he talked about President Biden saying that he made his announcement this afternoon, new plans to allow up to 30,000 migrants, from Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, and Haiti to legally enter the United States each month, 30,000 folks each month, while also drastically cracking down on people who seek refuge by crossing the border with Mexico. Now, under the new immigration rules, the administration officials said people in the 4 countries will be allowed to apply for entry to the United States using an app on their phone while still in their home countries if they can find a sponsor, a relative, church, or nonprofit group, pass a security screening, and pay for the flight. They will be allowed to live and work legally in the United States. Wow. Let's bring in Dr. Jason Nichols of American University, who continues to look at this situation. 30,000 a month, 30,000 migrants per month, Doc. And not only that, we're looking at from Nicaragua, Venezuela, Haiti. These are black and brown spaces.
Absolutely. Black and brown spaces.
So is this a win? I mean, how should we look at this? Is this good? Is this a good immigration policy? And then you look at some of the conditions that the president laid out as to how a person can become legal in the United States. Is this good?
Well, so I think it is. And I'll tell you why. Number one, it's going to relieve some of the gridlock at the southern border. A lot of people from those countries think they have to come to the southern border. And what it will do is cut into human trafficking and a lot of the things that we fear for migrants. A lot of women come and make those long trips. A lot of children come and they are harmed along the way. They're sexually assaulted along the way. They become victims of human trafficking. And this will cut into that. I think when people are able to actually hop on a plane and have the proper documentation, we'll be able to track them more. So, you don't have to worry about gang members or nefarious individuals getting into the country. And it's also fair. It's a fair process and it's a legal process. And I think it's important because a lot of times throughout our history, going back to the 1990s, Haitians have been left behind in particular. We saw, for example, with the wet foot, dry foot policy, Cubans were getting into the country and they were able to find sponsors, particularly within the, white Cuban community in South Florida. Haitians were unable, they were being returned. So I think this is good for the black and brown people of those countries. And it's good for the United States of America. The only thing that I would say is I know one of the policies is that they're adding more border agents, which is good, but they're only adding 300 for 30,000 people that they're going to be processing and allowing in. Some of those won't be at the border, but, I think that they need to bolster CBP a little more, get more than 300. We're talking more like 3,000 more border agents to deal with the people that actually may not get the news or the people that show up at the border. But overall, I think this is good policy. And another thing that they're doing is partnering with a lot of these other countries like Mexico, like Costa Rica. So some of them can take on some of the asylum seekers and give them asylum in those countries, which relieves some of the pressure at our southern border. So I think this is all good policy.
All good policy. Janelle checked in. My sister, who is a longtime watcher of the show, she said mainstream news tried to color Biden's speech on immigration as one about border security. Biden was talking about reforming asylum procedures and legal immigration using executive powers. Do you feel like that happened? Because when I heard that the president was speaking about border security, I was like, I wasn't thinking immigration for one. I was like, okay, what is this? What is this about? Then I checked it out and said, okay. But then the other part of it is about just that very thing that you and Janelle was bringing up, which is changing or reforming how we deal with those who are seeking asylum in this country. So how do we make sure that message gets across, especially amidst all of the other chatter around immigration?
Well, I think it's all kind of related. We saw, for example, on the border with Texas, when a lot of those Haitians were at the southern border with Texas, and it was this rush, like who deserves asylum, and then the Biden administration, because that was a political eyesore, and of course Texas was jumping on that as a political football. They started, removing people, expediting the removal process, which is part of what they're doing now too. By the way.
Yeah.
But they started expediting it before I would say I was comfortable with the asylum processes being really, really looked into. So I think that reforming asylum is related to immigration. It is related to border security. I think all of those things are tied together, and I think this will relieve some of the pressure on our southern border, which is really the big talking point for the right now. That's what they've been talking about the entire time. And there have been bipartisan pieces of legislation that have been put out there for a while, even by people on what I would call the far right. And it's talked about having more facilities near the border, so you don't have the streets overrun and you don't have people in tents in El Paso. There are a lot of things that need to be done that are somewhat bipartisan that we could be working on. And I think this is one step that the Biden administration is taking, using executive power, because we know that the GOP doesn't want to solve the problem, because then they get rid of their talking point. They lose something. They want this to exist into 2024. So whoever their candidate is can say, look at the southern border, look at immigration. Right. You've made it worse. You repealed Title 42, which was never supposed to be a public health measure and not an immigration law,
Right.
But it was being used that way or misused that way. So I think this is important that he took this step. I think it's good policy. I think it's a good idea. And I do think that it attaches a little bit, not even a little bit, it attaches to immigration and border security.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Real quick, and Professor, before we take our next pause, we've been hearing stories about, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, and some other Republicans who have been doing these kind of migrant scoops where they take the immigrants who come through and they send them off to some place that that these folks deem to be sanctuary cities. I don't know how Kamala Harris's household is in front of her house is considered that, but they are doing that. Do you think those political stunts are going to continue to happen now that the president has put this new policy out there?
Oh, absolutely. Because it's about what you see visually. It's not about actual policy or ideas or what's best for migrants or keeping people safe. They want them to sit out there in the cold outside of Kamala Harris's house so that they can show that on Fox News or on whatever news network you choose, and whatever right-wing outlet you choose. That's what they're trying to do. They want a visual and say this is the failures of the Biden administration on the border. So I think it's going to continue. And to be honest, some liberal places like the governor of Colorado is sending people to New York City and Chicago.
Yeah, that's true. I'm seeing that too.
Yeah, I think it's a little different, clearly, because he's sending them where they actually want to go, not where, this can be some sort of political stunt. People want to go to New York. He's like, all right, we'll get you a bus ticket. You go to New York. And again, the mayor of New York has an issue with that. But again, I still think that you're going to see a lot of this for political purposes because these are the kinds of things that the red meat that they want out there before 2024.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, we're going to continue the conversation about immigration, President Biden's new immigration policy. What do you think? Do you agree with this, folks? Do you agree that the United States can handle the influx of 30,000 new migrants per month? We're going to get your take on that. Stay tuned. That conversation continues here on The Culture, right here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, we have been talking about President Biden's new immigration policy, how he has announced earlier today that he will allow 30,000 new migrants per month to come from 4 countries. We're looking at these top 4 countries. Take a look at this, folks, and I want to again put that quote up from the New York Post as the president is made this announcement. He said that he will allow new migrants from Nicaragua, Venezuela, Cuba, and Haiti to legally enter the United States each month, while also drastically cracking down on people who seek refuge by crossing the border with Mexico. And that's according to administration officials. I want to share with you just a little bit of what the president had to say as he made this announcement earlier today. Take a look at this.
Over the past several years, thousands of people have been fleeing from Central and South America and the Caribbean countries ruled by oppressive dictators, including Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, and escaping gang violence, which has the same impact, in Haiti. Currently, these 4 countries account for most of the people traveling into Mexico to start a new life by getting to the American border and trying to cross. But instead of safe and orderly process at the border, we have a patchwork system that simply doesn't work as it should. Today, my administration is taking several steps to stiffen enforcement for those who try to come without a legal right to stay, and to put in place a faster process, I emphasize a faster process, to decide a claim of asylum. Someone says, I'm coming because I'm escaping oppression. Well, there's got to be a way to determine that much quicker. If you're trying to leave Cuba, Nicaragua, or Haiti, have agreed to begin a journey to America, do not just show up at the border. Stay where you are and apply legally from there. Starting today, if you don't apply through the legal process, you will not be eligible for this new parole program. Let me reiterate. You need a lawful sponsor in the United States of America, number 1. And you need to undergo a rigorous background check, number 2. If your application is approved and you show up at a U.S. airport or when and where directed, you have access. But if your application is denied or you attempt to cross into the United States unlawfully, you will not be allowed to enter. This new process is orderly, it's safe, and it's humane, and it works. Since we created the new program, the number of Venezuelans trying to enter America without going through a legal process has dropped dramatically, from about 1,100 per day to less than 250 per day on average.
Do you love Gantt charts?
That was President Biden laying out exactly what he wanted to do. What really was the motivation for Doc, the motivation for him to make this new immigration policy. But he's trying to bring some structure into it. He's trying to use this apply at home strategy versus just showing up at the border, which we have been seeing, which we have been talking about. My question becomes then now, how many folks are actually going to take the time who are going to actually take those steps to make sure that happens? That's the question, because I don't know what their electricity is like. I don't know what their Wi-Fi is like. I don't know if they have access to technology like that when they're trying to flee a country because of oppressive elements. So I don't know if that's reasonable. And maybe you can enlighten me on this, Doc. Is that a reasonable ask for people who are trying to leave their country because of oppressive regimes?
Well, I think that it's not going to relieve all of the pressure from our border. There are people out there who live in rural areas who may not have, some may not know how to read, to be honest. There are people who live in areas where they may not have, like you said, Wi-Fi in order to be able to download this app. There are people who may not understand. Hopefully, we haven't seen the app. I haven't seen the app, so we don't know how confusing it is. That's another thing. We've seen a lot of these government-related. We remember with what was it, healthcare.gov or whatever, when it crashed. So we know that sometimes these apps and government websites don't always function up to a standard that you would think the federal government would set. So there are a lot of variables, and I don't think that it's necessarily going to solve the problem, but it will make things a little bit better. And I think you will get, some people, in Haiti and some people in other areas who want to flee, having the opportunity to do so legally. The other thing is, a lot of those people, the most desperate people who make that trek, can't afford to get on a plane. That's probably going to be, people who are a little more, have a little more resources.
Right. I
do think, I saw one of the comments, and, I do think we do need to take into account that the United States has a labor shortage, and I would even argue, you want to go, people say we don't have room. I remember Trump saying, hey, we don't have room for immigrants. We're full. I was like, you haven't been through Baltimore. I see lots of space. You know what I mean? There's plenty of space for people. There's plenty of housing that could be redeveloped. Yeah. I would say for the people who are already here, number one, but also I think there'd still be plenty left for immigrants in places like St. Louis. St. Louis is a city built for 1 million people that has 300,000 people. So I think that in order to fill labor shortages, one of the ways that we can save Social Security, it's been proven over and over again, the way to save Social Security is immigration. That's, you get younger people are immigrants. You usually don't get 60 and 70-year-old immigrants. You get 20 and 25-year-old immigrants, and they pay into the system to take care of our elderly. That's the way to save Social Security. There's a lot of benefits to immigration that will help. And I know there are some people in our community, in the African-American community, who have issues with immigration, but they need to think about that as well as our elderly family members that need that support. the thing that'll save it, honestly, is immigration.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me get to some of our comments from our online culture crew. Stride Iron Style, you posted this. You said right across the street from the Capitol, there's homeless tents was set up. I was shocked when I saw this literally right at the bell at the Metro. Yeah. There are homeless tents all over this country.
Oh, for sure.
All over this country. So when we look at this situation, right? And I'm saying this from not just from a civics perspective, Doc, but just from a cultural side of things, right? Like, I think that we understand. I'm saying we as the American people. I think the American people understand that, you know, if you are living in a place that has oppression, if you're given the opportunity, you should take advantage of leaving that place, especially for the safety and well-being of you and your family. I think we understand that morally. I think we understand that culturally. But one of the things that I think is harder to ask people to reconcile is how do you strike a balance between helping people who are coming in versus helping people who are already here? Excuse me.
Yeah,
that's the hard part, right?
Right.
You got people living in tents, but we're not making a way for them as much as we're making for people who are coming across the water. And I'm not upset that the country wants to open up its doors in the sense like, okay, fine. That's the way the country has, quote unquote, branded itself across the world as being this place, this safe space for anybody, right? That's how America became America. We know that story. But this is 2023 now. You know, in the city of Los Angeles, there are over 40,000 people homeless. In the city of Baltimore, there were over 3,000 people homeless. You know, when you're thinking about, like you said, St. Louis, you think about from city to city, Chicago, New York, big and small cities, where folks are looking for housing, we're experiencing, homelessness at a high level, where we're seeing that there is a neglect from our government to provide for the American people, those people who cannot provide for themselves, veterans, the disabled, those who are mentally challenged, that have mental health issues, those segments of the population that need to be cared for, but not cared for, but yet we're talking about opening the doors. How do you reconcile that to the American citizen that's seeing all this play out?
So, first of all, I would acknowledge a lot of what you just said. And no disrespect to the people in Ukraine, but there are estimates that say that we could eradicate homelessness in the United States with $20 billion.
Woo!
It would take $20 billion.
That's it.
That's it. $20 billion to eradicate.
Wait a minute, hold on, Doc. Hold on.
Fact check.
20 billion, excuse me. And we could eradicate homelessness in the United States.
Fact check me. Go ahead.
Look, you ain't coming on here shooting the bobo, so I agree with you. I believe you. Brother.
I mean, we've sent billions upon billions upon billions of dollars to Ukraine. And again, I get the purpose, and I'm not even necessarily criticizing, but I'm saying when we always say we don't have money, we don't have money, we don't have money. And then when, and again, good thing, but when the world shut down from COVID, all of a sudden we had $2 trillion. Easy. We just, it was in our back pocket. We threw it out there. So it's all about what the country's priorities are in terms of fixing the problems that we have here. I don't think, the thing that I would disagree with is this idea that fixing the problems here is related to the people that might come into the country. I think that those are two separate things. We need to address the problems that we have in this country, allocate the right resources to those problems, and also we can still be a country that lets the downtrodden, the people who are being politically persecuted into the country for safety and give them safe refuge. And at the same time, I would say that immigration, as I stated earlier, will actually address some of the problems that we have in terms of tax revenue. Also, immigrants pay taxes, you know, and if you need that $20 billion, that's what's going to come from the tax revenue created by these young immigrants. And we also have a falling population. Populations are declining. You know what population is growing? Immigrants. You know, they have more children. So I think that there are a lot of things that we need to look at in terms of what's going on in our country to address them, and government needs to be more functional in terms of making that happen instead of playing politics, but like they're doing in Washington right now. But at the same time, I don't think that we can say, well, if this, you know, if we deal with this, then we can't deal with that. I think those are two separate issues that we can address.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? It's going to take more conversation. And here's the biggest part of it. The American people need to be at the table.
Absolutely. Because
as much as this might sound politically, it might sound legally, culturally, there still needs to be some discussion, because you can't bring in 30,000 people into a new country, a new space a month from black and brown places like Cuba, Venezuela, and Haiti without there being some different conversations happening. Especially given the great divide that already exists in this country, the American people need to be at the table. We need to have some deeper conversations. And the way that some of these state governments are moving, whether they shipping folks out or whether they are just creating circumstances where it's so hard to live in some of these states because of the quality of their leadership, the American people needs to be at the table. That's all it is. Dr. Jason Nichols, I appreciate you as always, brother. Thank you so much for joining us for these conversations. I appreciate you, man. And we'll bring you back.
Absolutely. I'll be here.
All right, my man, Dr. Jason Nichols, full-time lecturer for the African Americans Studies Department at American University. Check it in, as always. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's shift gears. Let's talk about Damar Hamlin, give you the latest or the updates on the NFL player who collapsed while on field. There's some good news that we can definitely report. But then let's also talk about protecting players on and off the field. Stay with us. That conversation is up next with Scotty and my brother Michael in Hotel here on The Culture, right here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com. Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, which is
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let's shift gears as we talk about Damar Hamlin. This is the Bills player who unfortunately had a very, very tragic and scary moment on the field from Monday Night Football as he collapsed due to cardiac arrest. Now, there has been a lot of conversation about, what does this mean? How will this impact the game? How will this impact where we are in this country in terms of the violence of football? But today, I wanted to have a conversation, at least bring you up to speed about where we are with the health and well-being of Damar Hamlin, first and foremost. But then let's have the discussion about protecting players on and off the field, because now the shift has focused from not just Damar, but looking at the healthcare policy, the insurance policy of professional athletes. And so I'm very, very happy that we get to have my sports contributor, my brother, Scotty, the host of Off Script TV, to join us once again to have this conversation, because Scotty alluded to this in our last discussion. But then more importantly, we also have my guy, brother Michael and Hotep as well, to give us some insight about what we're looking at as we're looking at the NFL. But first and foremost, Scotty, let's talk about Damar's progress. There have been a number of announcements made that Damar is actually making some progress, that
Absolutely.
He's slowly getting out of the woods where he was listed as critical condition, but that designation has changed. Share with us the latest, bro.
So from what I've been reading as well, he's stable. The first thing he asked the doctors and nurses is who won the game.
Wow.
Yeah. The first thing he asked the doctors is who won the game, and the doctors told him you won, because he's stable. He's able to get his mind. He's opened his eyes, talking and things like that. And from what else I've read is that his lungs is also just need to be repaired and things like that. But they're going to keep him in observation for a few more days and weeks and things like that. But that's the blessing. You know what I'm saying? But like we talked about earlier, that's what it's about. When you're a warrior, a warrior, a football player, an athlete, the game, that's all is the game.
Absolutely. So, but I'm a little blown away that was the first question he asked, bro. Listen, who won the game? What is the game?
He thought they would still play. He didn't know he was dead. You know what I'm saying? He didn't know he died. You know what I'm saying? Did we
win? Look at this, folks.
Hey, man, listen.
Did we win?
Did we win?
I don't know what. See, now, Scotty, man, look, you keep it 1,000 every time you come on, man. So, hey, look, I don't even know if that should be a question that we should applaud, or a question that we should be like,
yeah, you don't know you died. You don't know you died.
Like my brother, you checked out.
It's like when you, I don't know if anybody's ever been put to sleep. You know what I'm saying? Like when, the headlock, I've been put to sleep before. I got older cousins. I've been put to sleep before. And you just wake up like, yo, what happened? You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody over there huddling, looking at you like, bro, like, you okay? Like, what happened? I don't, So that's what it is. He just waking up like, hey, what happened? Did we win? You know what I'm saying? So that's how you look at it.
Well, and I think it speaks to the point that you made the last conversation that we had about this. It's like as an athlete, the game is the most important. That's how important it is. It's almost like this very narrow tunnel vision. Nothing else matters except for if we won.
You know what I try to explain to people, I'm from the military, so we call it keep it simple, stupid. You know what I'm saying? So I just want people to imagine as if when you're 10 years old, you wanted to be a doctor, right? You wanted to be a surgeon since 10 years old, and everything that you've done all your life was to prepare you to be a doctor and then or a surgeon. And then let's say you trip and fall on the steps and you break your hand and they tell you you can no longer be a surgeon. It would crush you, right? So I know a lot of people be like, it's just sports. Well, when people have been groomed since 10 years old, 8 years old to go to the NFL, right? To have this life-changing money or this life-changing experience or to make it to the highest level and it gets taken away from you, or you're in a situation where that's all you care about. So people who are, as they say, the intellects of the world, who don't really watch sports and don't really see the fascination of it, I implore you to look at your life and to think about it in the senses, if all I've ever done since I was 10 to be where I am now, how would I look at it if it was taken away from me, or if somebody told me I couldn't go do what I've been practicing or training to do? It would really mess with you. It would really mess with you.
It would really mess with you. All right, so I'm glad that our brother is getting out of the woods. And some people say that, and Damon, I saw your message on our chat. You say he's Farajii. He actually is writing. He's not speaking. But he's actually speaking this. Am I correct on this, Scotty? Or is this did he like write this message?
I didn't read the writing. I heard the first question that was asked from the article that I read. It didn't say writing. So I don't want to give any misinformation. I know that. Let's just say the first question he asked, writing or speaking, was
did we win?
Yeah, did we win?
Did we win? And this is why I wanted to have this conversation, because, bro, one of the things that you brought up in the last discussion was, and this was your recommendation, is let's have some infrastructure change to the NFL. Like all the well wishes, all of the good stuff is one thing, but if the infrastructure doesn't change to where players are protected on and off the field after they've given them their time and their bodies to the game, then we really are not having a conversation. This I want to share with this and Keenan and Ariel. I want to pose this. There was a tweet that was going out from a sports show in Cleveland where one of the hosts made this point. Take a look at this, folks, and let me know. And then we're going to get to Scotty, and then I'll bring my brother Michael and Hope Tep in there. Take a look at this. All right, we're pulling up the tweet right now. We're pulling up. Hey, man, this is the beauty of live shows.
Hey, listen, I do it all the time. I'm like,
this is the beauty of live shows.
I don't even got no producer. I am the producer. So I'll be like, bear with me. Bear with me.
That's what we do.
That's what you gotta do, man. Listen, you know,
it's the culture, baby. You don't know sets can fall apart. You don't know if music comes up or mic's cut out.
Listen,
hey, that's the nature of the live TV.
Listen, I'll be when my kids come for the summer, I do my show. I'll be having to mute myself and talk.
Hey, look, my culture crew. I'm gonna tell you the truth, man. My culture crew heard all types of my children in the background making fun of me and everything. Farajii, tell your daughter to chill out.
Yeah, listen, man. Y'all only know what goes on behind the scenes, man. We got a whole.
Let's play this video. Take a look at what one host said about this whole serious issue of why the NFL, there needs to be more conversation than just well wishes. Take a look.
I just don't believe the league was never considering continuing the game.
I'm gonna keep it real. We in left field. We in left field. I'm kind of hot right now too. I'm kind of hot because we do this every freaking time something happened on this field. Everybody want to pivot and act like they. I done heard people talking about, just the mental health of the players, and yeah, you could die. They don't even know they could die out here. We sit here and talk about this stuff every single time. Schedule remakes, how we going to make it up, what the league feels about it. I don't give a damn what the league feels about it. Let's keep it real. Why we don't talk about the stuff that matters? This young man, you want to know how what this you need to know about him? He's 24 years old, right? He got a contract for $160,000. That's his bonus. And he earns $825,000 this year. You say, G. Bush, why are you talking about this man's money? Because guess what? He's been in the league 2 years. That means he's not vested. That means if he never plays another down in his life, he don't get another check for the NFL. Let's be clear about this. You got to play 3 to 4 years before you even sniff a pension. So all this heartwarming and prayers and condolences don't do nothing for that boy's mom that got to go home, look at her son, and he might need extensive care for the rest of his life. And you know what the NFL will tell you? Well, we'll look out for the people like him. No, you won't. No, you won't. Let's talk about the disability policy for the NFL, right? They moved it from $22,000 a month to $4,000 in the last collective bargaining agreement. Did you know that the NFL has a private board that reviews all aspects with their doctors and with their neurologists and their specialists? They can deny benefits even if Social Security deems you to be permanently disabled. The league can come back and then say, the government is they're experts, but let's take it over so we don't pay anything out. Only 15% get approved by Social Security. The league says that number should be lower. Get that. 15% of the people who apply for disability in this country, I know I was a disability expert. It's very low. I submitted over almost 250,000 applications in 1 year one time. I know. Since the CTE settlement, only 6.5% of the settlement has been paid, according to the admin's website. I looked it up yesterday. And 60% of the claims have a qualifying diagnosis but have not been paid. Let's talk about this. They're also moving the pension. And that pension, he got to make it to 55. He's 24. And they've moved that between $3,000. They moved it down to $3,000 when it was $5,600 a month. And the last stat that you should know about is the Bills owner Terry Pegula owns the Sabres as well as the Buffalo Bills, and his net worth is $6.7 billion. My question to you is, NFL, when do salaries become guaranteed? If you know these young men are going out there and they could die on that football field, I don't give a damn what your thoughts and prayers are. Do the right thing. I just heard Aditi say it 7 times. This is a savage sport. Men are dying every week, and you covered that up during CTE, and now you want to act like you the top of the food chain because you got the CPR people on the field on time? That's the least you should do. You're not gonna pay that man's you're not gonna pay that man's tuition for his kids. You're not gonna give him no disability money. You don't do nothing. All you do is collect them big checks, and we go play fantasy footballs, and I hear these dudes' thoughts and prayers for a whole damn 2 hours. Y'all don't care about them kids. These young black kids is putting on the line. And you telling them what they put on the line ain't worth it because you know why? Because you don't want to pay for somebody that's broken and battered and can't take care of themselves because it costs you money. So it is all about money. And I heard nobody talking about no contracts. And they sitting up here cashing these checks. We worship these owners. They do anything they want to. Anything. And as long as the product is good, we salute it. I'm pissed off today because ain't nobody talking about the real stuff. There's people out there, players are saying they just want to wait for us to die. I like the NFL just like the rest of y'all, but I'll be damned if I'm going to sit up there and pat Roger Goodell on the back for running this organization the way he does. They run it like a criminal organization. Sick of it. I'm tired of that, man. I just had to get that off my chest because all this stuff, you ain't talked about what this boy going to go through. This kid could be damaged the rest of his life. And we talking about making up games. Care about making up no damn football games?
Woo.
Listen, like somebody.
Hold on, Scotty. We got to take a quick pause.
All right.
I want the people to really listen. That was Garrett Bush, host of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, GBush91 on Twitter. And he got people talking. He got people talking about the NFL, insurance, disability policy. He got people talking about protecting players on and off the field. We're going to take a quick pause. When we come back, my man Scotty, we're going to bring Michael and Hotep into the conversation. And, of course, we're going to have you. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Wow.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for a Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, we have been talking about Damar Hamlin, and then not just talking about his health and well-being, but we've also been talking about the state of protecting players on and off the field, the NFL's disability and insurance policy. We just played a clip of of one show, the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, where host Garrett Bush just laid it out, talking about giving us the numbers in terms of insurance and disability claims, and more importantly, the great need of the NFL to protect its players, to take care of its players, especially when the players have given so much of themselves to the game. We are joined by sports vlogger, Scotty, host of Off Script TV that you can find on YouTube and IG. And I want to bring in my brother Michael and Hotep into this conversation. But Scotty, I want to get your take first on what G. Bush had to say. With that piece, bro, that's the real conversation.
Absolutely.
You played the game. You played on a collegiate level. You understand what is required to play on a high level, brother. But that's the real conversation. He's saying, why aren't we talking about this? And I gotta say this, ask the same question. Why aren't we talking about this, Scotty?
Oh, see, listen, two things can be true. That the NFL has dropped the ball, and so have the players, right? When you go into CBA agreements, just listen, let's call a spade a spade. White people gonna do their business right. They gonna do their business right. The players have to do business better. You can't go into your CBA and all you care about is more money and not getting caught up for smoking weed, less practices. You have to think long term of what this game is going to do to your body. Yes, you have the top 1%ers of quarterbacks and running backs and wide receivers that make all that money. But if you really think about it, the NFL is built up of minimum veteran league contracts and things like that. When you go into your CBA and not wanting guaranteed contracts, not putting that stuff on the table, those are your issues that you have to do better business. The NFL can always say, we came up with the agreement with the players, and this is what they agreed to. You can't get mad at me for what the players are agreed to. That's like you having a contract with your company and then you say, I need more money. Like, bro, we can't. We went to the table. We asked you what you wanted. You said this, and now because you got a new car, you want me to pay you more money? That is not how it works. So two things can be true. Have the NFL looked the other way when it comes to insurance and long-term care? Absolutely. Have the players also dropped the ball in having their priorities together? Absolutely. So both things can be true, but they're both the narratives of what's going on right now.
Wow. All right, Brother Michael, let's get your take on this. Of course, Damar Hamlin, the latest in a line of injuries, serious injuries. Right. Now people are questioning, as G. Bush said, like, we're not having this conversation about disability. We're not having this conversation about protecting life. What do we need to do to have the conversation on a very high level where NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell can say, you know what, let's have some different conversations?
Well, we have to. Thanks for having me again,
Farajii,
and Happy New Year to everybody. Well, first of all, we have to realize that these are human beings, okay, and not look at them. Yeah, we talk about them being warriors and gladiators, things like this, but these are human beings first and foremost. The average career in the NFL is about 3.5, 3.6 seasons, and when you look at what Damar was making, as Garrett Bush pointed out. The small amount that he was making in the NFL is probably surprising to a lot of people. $825,000 a year plus a $160,000 bonus. He and the NFL contracts are not guaranteed as well. So he could. We don't know if he will sustain lifelong injuries. We don't know at this point. Is possible, but let's look at just the NFL generally speaking. Most of these players are going to have lifelong injuries and need multiple surgeries after their short career is over with throughout the rest of their life. The majority of them are going to need this. And what I talked about this on Roland Martin and the Filter because there's this one African-American player. I forgot his name, but Roland has interviewed the player as well as his wife a number of times, and the player's in bad shape in and out of the hospital. And this side of the NFL does not get talked about enough, and is not talked about a lot in the media to understand the downside. Okay, so yeah, the player, not just the players, but also the player association, because when you're 21, 22 years old, you think you're gonna live forever. You think you're going to be able to play this game, even though you hear the average career is 3.5 years. You think you're going to be the one that plays 10, 12 seasons, 15 seasons, things like this. You don't think it's going to happen to you. So a lot of the older players, the more mature players who have been down this road, really need to speak up and educate the young players who don't really understand what's on the other side of the end zone.
So, but the thing that I'm also seeing is that, you know, to your point, Brother Michael, and to Scotty's point, like the players have to kind of get out of their own way, right? That you can't allow these big contracts. And I'm thinking about one of my homegrown team, the Ravens. I'm thinking about Lamar Jackson. I'm thinking about players who go into the conversation, who come to the table and say, look, I want that guaranteed money. Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure, Scotty and Brother Michael, if they're saying I want that guaranteed money because I know that I only have 3.5 or maybe 5 years max to be in this space, or if it's like I want that guaranteed money because I'm bringing up the numbers, I'm a big baller, I'm and then we'll figure out the rest. And I'm not sure, Scotty, if that's a cultural thing or if that's just an individual handling his business thing.
You know,
what is it?
To me, I think it's a bit of both, right? So you have the handling business because, like Mr. Michael said, is just that if you get cut, that money's gone. Whatever, it's money that the team has to pay off the salary cap rules. But if Lamar has a $200 million contract and only $100 million is guaranteed, that other $100 million is gone. He's not going to see that. So that's why people are looking for the guarantee of the entire. Like Deshaun Watson got, I believe, $260 fully guaranteed. That means if he leave tomorrow, he's going to get that money. So that's another aspect of it. But what people don't understand is a lot of players don't have that leverage. right? Those players have leverage. Deshaun, Lamar, they are the face of their programs. But the team is 52 players, right? So it's like not all 52 players have that same leverage. And most of the leagues are built off of the rest of the 40 guys. You have your special guys, and then you have the rest of the guys. And the rest of the guys are the majority when making decisions against the CBA. Why? They don't have the finances to take a strike year, to hold out, to do what's necessary to have these contract negotiations go in players' way. They're looking at it, man, I'm living check to check. If you were given $800,000 for 4 months and you got to make that last for a year, you know what I'm saying? And you balling out of control. And like Mr. Michael said, you 20, 22, 21, you don't know how much that money goes.
That money's blowing, bro.
And you still have to pay taxes too.
You still
you still have to pay taxes on the 800,000.
That's half of it's gone. You know what I'm saying? You know, so it's if you
so you wait a minute, hold on. So you put your body out there for half the amount of money that they give you.
And you get taxed in every state you play in. So if you play, let's say you live in LA, but you play in Baltimore for a game, you get taxed in Baltimore as well.
So basically, eight cities, at least 8 cities a year, you're getting taxed in because you're playing away games. Yeah, and just very quickly, Dr. Timothy Pitts, who is the vice chair of clinical operations at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center, he was the one who said that Damar Hamlin scribbled "Did we win?" on the clipboard. He was the one who stated that, reported by CNN. I would encourage everybody, if they haven't seen it, to watch 30 for 30 broke on ESPN. It deals with how athletes go broke, and they look at the NBA, NFL, and Major League Baseball. They looked at African American as well as white athletes. And one of the things they talked about was they interviewed Andre Rison, used to play for the Atlanta Falcons, but they talked about in the NFL, because one is you have the shortest career of the 3 major sports. 1, 2, you make the least amount of money of the 3 major sports. But 3, they also talked about the fact that unlike the other 2 sports, basketball and football, most of the time when you're on the field, you have your helmet on. So a lot of people, unless they really follow the NFL, don't know what you really look like. So they talked about how a lot of the athletes, a lot of the NFL players feel the need to spend more money, participate in conspicuous consumption, to draw more attention to themselves, because a lot of people don't know what they look like without that helmet on. They may know their number, and they may know their last name on the back of their jersey, but don't really know what they look like. So there's a number of different factors, but I encourage people to watch that 30 for 30 broke. Dude, it'll make you really think. And everybody in college, coming out of college, they need to watch that.
Absolutely. Let me just get a couple of comments from my online culture crew. You don't like my music. You say the players also need to realize they have the power. They are the talent. They make a lot of other people a lot of money. Scotty, you played the game. Did you know that from the beginning? Was that something that 10-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds, that's never shared with you?
Nah, because you just think you're gonna make it and become a millionaire. That's the whole mindset. You don't like. Man, listen. I love LeVar Ball. A lot of people don't like LeVar Ball, but LeVar Ball was speaking bars. He said, if they're paying LeBron $100 million, how much are they making off of LeBron, right? So if you're willing to pay me $1 million, how much are you making off of me, right? So but you don't think about that as an 18, 19. You just like, if I hit these weights, if I run this time, if I look this good, if I catch this ball, I'm going to be a millionaire. And think about this. It's a mindset. Like I've talked as I've grown in the media, I've spent time with a lot of moguls and I spent time with millionaires, and they always say, Scotty, it's a mindset. How you spend money and how you look at money is a mindset. So if you're not taught the right way to manage and look at money, it can still go through your fingers, like saying, doesn't matter how much they give you, right? Exactly. So it's just one thing after another. I look at the NFL and the Shield. They should do a better job of protecting kids from themselves, right? So just like they made it.
But here's the thing, though, Scotty. Is it their job? Look, the NFL, and I'm trying to take, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here, right? The NFL say, look, we give you an opportunity on the biggest stage. right? We put you in a position to earn a lot of money. We're not going to baby step you through the process of how to spend your money, how you should advocate for your money. We're not going to do that. We've done enough. You want to play football, then you play football with us. But other than that, the rest of the journey is on you. So should we even expect it? Because I'm wondering if it's fair, if that criticism is fair to put on the doorstep of the NFL, given the fact the NFL don't force nobody to come into the league.
That's fair.
I don't think any football player is saying, yeah, I was forced to be there. The NFL said, if you want this, we will give you every incentive for you to be here. However, these incentives supersede what may happen to your mind, what may happen to your body, and certainly what may happen to your bank account.
I'm not.
That's up to you. So should we put that on them?
The financial literacy part, no. But protecting the people from themselves, insurance-wise, absolutely. Absolutely. There should be a system. You're a billion-dollar corporation built off the backs of black athletes, white as well, but built off the bodies of individuals. You're a billion. We know America and football are synonymous. It used to be baseball. It is football. And they are making a killing off of it. So much so that they started 2 other leagues because people want that much football. So to me, if you're looking, it's 2 ways you can look at this. Business-wise, if you're business-wise, if I'm an owner, I'm like, I'm not in the wrong. We've given them the CBA. They decided to do that so you can sit back. PR-wise, it can get really ugly really quickly, especially in the day and age of PC and everything, politically correct and not doing the right thing and Me Too, cancel. You can get canceled real quick out here in these streets. All right, so the PR-wise, if Roger Goodell, who doesn't catch a ball, makes over $500 million, you can protect the players from themselves and make a health insurance fund that siphons off of the revenue from the league and just gets put away for a rainy day. So there's no excuse for that.
Farajii, can I just interject quickly? I think it's really important for people to understand the NFL teams are going to make money off of these players for perpetuity. They're going to make money off of the jerseys, off of highlight reels, off of all this stuff. They're going long after their careers are over with. They're going to keep making money off of these people for perpetuity, okay? And then the other thing is, not only is the NFL a billion-dollar corporation, but they are a nonprofit organization as well. They're structured as a nonprofit organization also. So, I mean, talk about game recognizing game. This is one of the biggest rackets in the history of America, okay? Built on the backs of African-American players.
Look,
go ahead.
But it's also an opportunity. We understand, look, if we look at America, America's one of the biggest rackets, right?
Yeah.
If we say that capitalism
is one of America's biggest sports because it's a big racket.
But here's the thing. And I'm not saying that, of course, that the NFL not paying reparations to black folks, but with these massive big ass contracts,
they need to.
Black players could do more.
Right.
They could do more with the money.
But
and more importantly, they could advocate more for the next generation. It blows my mind that we aren't having a conversation about insurance, retirement, disability.
Okay. But
because considering all that previous players have already gone through, and then now with just consciousness being present in this country, what about the next little 10-year-old black boy from Sandersville, Georgia, that's looking to play?
Listen, I'll speak after. I'll speak after Scotty.
This is my thing, right? You got to see who, like, the face of most times in the NFL, and I know a lot of black players are. They're mostly white. You're gonna need white players to come up. You're gonna need the Aaron Rodgers, the Tom Brady's, the Josh Allens, when Ben was playing, Ben Roethlisberger. You need the Patrick Mahomes, the Lamar Jacksons. The quarterbacks make everything go in the NFL. If you don't have the quarterbacks on your side promoting this, if you don't have Patrick Mahomes saying I'm not playing unless we get this completed, if you don't have the biggest names, listen. You can do wide. It starts with quarterbacks, right? Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. You need those guys to stand in the gap for all the players beneath them, because no NFL team is going to play a playoff game at that, without their starting quarterback. That is not happening. So you need those players to stand in the gap for all the other. You can replace a running back. You can replace a wide receiver. Them quarterbacks are a dime a dozen, and they make it move.
There it is. Let me take this, Brother Michael. I'm going to give you a chance, but I got to take this quick pause. When we come back, let's get your remarks on this. Stay with us, folks. So we're talking about Damar Hamlin and the NFL's disability and insurance policy. Stay with us. That conversation continues here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is roland@rolandsmartin.com. Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
All right, folks, we have been talking about the NFL's disability and insurance policy in light of what has happened to Buffalo Bills player Damar Hamlin, who is slowly improving, who is greatly improving in his condition from having a cardiac arrest while being on the field playing Monday Night Football. Doctors are saying that he has awakened and he is showing substantial improvement in his health. And so we are continuing to send prayers to him and his family as we want to see our brother recover. But the conversation I've been having with sports vlog and host of Off Script TV, Scotty, and brother Michael Imhotep, who serves as the host of the African History Network podcast show, has been about the other side, the infrastructure, talking about the insurance policies, talking about disability, talking about creating an infrastructure where players feel protected, on and off the field. Brother Michael, I want to get your thoughts very quickly as we kind of close that out. But this idea that the NFL, that black folks and black men in particular, they're gaining from the NFL. Mm-hmm. The idea that they're gaining from the NFL, and that we should, I mean, with all of the money that we see these players accumulate over their time in the sport, we should be a little bit further along in having certain infrastructure pieces in place. And we should definitely be further along in teaching the next generation of players what to look for, what to ask for when they go into these conversations or when they come to the table.
Right. Well, two quick things. Number one, I think a lot of this is on the retired players who have been down that road, who have experienced the multiple surgeries and life-ending career-ending injuries, things like this. I think a lot of this, they should be leading the conversation. I know some of them have, but I think a lot more, because when you're 21, 22, 23 years old, that's a road you haven't been down yet. You have, you haven't experienced that. So a lot of those retired players, especially the ones with big names, could, I think, really help to give the current players a lot more leverage when it comes to the education, but also the collective bargaining agreements as well. And then also, I think there's a role for those who are fans of the NFL. Now, as I've said numerous times here and on Roland Martin Unfiltered, I haven't watched the NFL game since Colin Kaepernick left the league. Okay, so you can pretty much understand how I feel about the NFL. All right. Yeah. But the fans who buy the sports packages, the fans who buy the tickets, the fans who tune in every Sunday, things like this, I think there's a role for them to play as well, because you don't have, I think a lot of the fans can help put pressure on the teams and the NFL. And it's like, look, these are guys that we love. We want them to be properly taken care of with proper health insurance, proper pensions, things like this. A lot of this that Garrett Bush exposed, I think a lot of people don't really know the interworkings of this. And if you look at when it comes time to sign contracts, right, you'll see the headlines. This person got this multi-million-dollar contract for a certain number of years. They usually don't then go break down what their health insurance is like, disability, pensions, things like this when they talk about the contract. So they focus on the money. Okay. So a lot of us have been trained to focus on the money and not the details, what happens after your career is over with. So I think there's a role for everybody in this.
That's a great point. Scotty, we got a couple of moments left. Where do we go from here? How do we get to the next step, especially now with Damar? The season is still going on. The NFL has officially announced there will not be a rematch of the Bills and Bengals. So I don't know how that's going to play off with the playoff, how that's going to unfold with the playoff picture. But what happens now? I mean, because now that we know Damar is getting into a better place, my concern, by Sunday, this may still be a conversation.
You know how it goes. You know, I remember when Michael Irvin got caught up for, his stuffing off the court, off the field issues, and then they won the Super Bowl, and they were like, hey, man, when it covers our multitudes.
Right.
Once you start winning. But I want to jump back. I think it goes back to what Mr. Michael said. It's simply these former athletes have platforms. You have Shannon Sharp on Undisputed and all the foolishness they got going on. You got Michael Irvin on ESPN. You got Ryan Clark. You have on the CBS. You got Michael Strahan is on everything.
Everything.
Right.
So you have these former players, like Mr. Michael said, that can stand in the gap as well and really put this on a national platform and get some push behind it, because at the end of the day, it's not just for them, but it's for all the black players coming by. I mean, all the players. I mean, not just, predominantly black, but it's for all the players that come behind them. And you want to set a precedence of we're not going to keep this. We're not going to allow this to keep trickling and having issues up and down the line, but it takes everybody. It takes a whole community to really push it.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And, if no one else is more vocal about this stuff, I can definitely see Uncle Shannon doing it.
Somebody.
Uncle Shannon could do it. Uncle Shannon can be the voice. And I've heard him on a number of occasions, Scotty and Brother Michael, that he has said that he's had conversations about how things run in the NFL. But I think that's going back to our one of our online culture crew members. You got to remember that you have power. And I think that's the big part of this conversation. Players have power. if a Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes or anybody else say, look, we can't keep doing this. We want to see this change or that change. Guess what's about to happen?
Well, there's going to be some changes.
There's going to be some changes. There's going to be some changes. But Scotty, my guy, check it out. Yes, sir. Go ahead, bro.
But even think about the Rooney Rule. It took an owner saying, hey, this is wrong. Like, look at what's going on right here. Yeah. We need to. So it's going to take somebody at the top, you know what I'm saying, also standing in the gap as well, because if the owners say we're not doing it, then they're not doing it. You know what I'm saying? Because they run the asylum, as they say. So
they run the asylum. My man Scotty, host of Off Script TV, you can find it on YouTube and IG. Scotty, thank you so much, bro. There it is right there. Check him out. Make sure y'all subscribe to his page, giving you all of the latest information about news, the sports world, and HBCU to the professionals. So, Scotty, we always are happy to have you on. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Brother Michael, we got about 30 seconds. Go ahead, brother Michael.
Visit our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com, theafricanhistorynetwork.com. Our next online class is Saturday, January 7th, 2023, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'apa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade. And then the following Tuesday, we have from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power. So register for the online classes. We have them discounted. You can use these with our youth. I would say the content is age. Scroll down. I would say the content is ages 13 and up. Scroll down. That's the radio show stuff. And listen to the African History Network show. We're on Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time live. I have a live radio show. Scroll down and you're right there. Okay, this is a multi-week online course, and we do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. We have a lot. Scroll down. We have a lot of content that you can watch on demand as well. All right. All right. Thanks. Thanks, Farajii, and Happy New Year to everybody as well.
Absolutely, brother Michael and Hotep, host of the African History Network show podcast. Make sure y'all check him out every week, folks. There we go. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. I thank each and every one of you. Make sure y'all check us out at blackstarnetwork.com, where you can continue to show your support for what we're doing here. Let me tell you, 2023 is gearing up to be a year of great promise and progress, and we want you to be a part of the movement. Make sure you also show your support for Black Star Network. Download the app for free. Also follow us on all social media platforms, and just get ready. Just get ready, folks, because we are approaching the February 1st 1-year mark, and there are going to be some great things that are coming up on the horizon for the work that we're doing here on Black Star Network. So we want you to join the movement, join the Bring the Funk fan club. Make sure that y'all continue to support us each and every day, and make sure you let your friends and family know about the work that we're doing. Also, make sure y'all check me out. You can find me on all social media platforms. On Twitter, I'm at Farajii. On IG, I'm at The Real Farajii. Make sure y'all follow me there. Love to connect with you. And continue to build what we have built here with this online culture crew. Lana, I saw your message on Twitter. I definitely appreciate that. Let's go, Lana. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. I thank each and every one of y'all for tuning in. Stay tuned. Up next is RMU, Roland Martin Unfiltered at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That will be streaming live on Black Star Network. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Have a great evening and afternoon and evening, folks. Talk to you soon. Peace.